Heist show for forums we were never invited to. I am Steve. I'll be your host. I'm here with Gerald.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely, buddy. We invited a lot more folks. Then we realized that we're not really the party goers we used to be.
Yeah, my friends list has been really dwindled
quite a bit. In fact, my Facebook encounters are more like the same kind of interactions I have at the gas station when you see someone you know. You duck down and go the other way. I mean,
that was you. Okay.
Whoops-a-daisy. Thanks for joining us. We love to stalk the forums, find some questions. We spend most of the time on Reddit finding some great questions here about everything from character builds to DM advice. So if you haven't seen the previous episodes, they're available on our channel. All the questions have been paraphrased. So if you want to see the full question in its glory, all of its lengthy, long-form glory, head on over to the description down below. Both questions today come from a name that is unpronounceable.
That's an interesting name.
Appendagfin.
Oh, I thought that was literally a name that is unpronounceable. That
it's pretty clever. It's an acronym for that, as it turns out. And Appendagfin, we're going with it. Two questions from this fellow that says, what have you done that makes a heist successful?
I'm not legally allowed to talk about that. I'm sorry.
That is what has made it successful. Second question. So I think this kind of falls back on the robbery deal. Not robbery. Going to jail. Jailing your players, right? Like, be careful how you force things in, because when it's forced, no one enjoys it. There's something to be learned about that.
Right? Yeah. Don't
Relationship advice coming back.
Yeah. Don't force it.
Don't force it. If it comes across as desperate, no good.
You can offer your mate tea, but don't force tea down their throat.
That's an important one. So, what have you done that makes a heist successful? I think there was one that I did. It was relatively simple. There were some stakes involved as far as not like meat. Like the risk was there that you were going to be messing around in a lawful good warehouse, right? It's the law of the land. It is their warehouse, and if you get caught, it's going to be bad. If you kill the guards, it's going to be bad. It's going to be a full investigation. You're going to be wanted for murder, so you got to lay low. And the way that I rolled it out to the players was, there's a specific thing in there, and it is in a safe. The safe, I gave them the options, right? Because anything could go south. If they roll a bad sleight of hand, they're screwed, right? So I gave them some options of the safe is small enough that they can pick it up and carry it away. Maybe you have a bag of holding, you can tip it over into something like that. But then I also had the guy that was commissioning it give them a tip of like, hey, you could probably also create a distraction outside somehow that would get the guards distracted. Because players I was playing with, they're not all sneaky. So kind of giving them ability to take on some different roles there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you hit on all of the probably the main elements that you need in that sort of scenario. And a lot of these are going to translate to any scenario where you have a challenge. One, you want to make a specific goal for the players. And you want to make it challenging, but not impossible. You want to give them ways that they can think of, and this will go back to player ingenuity. They may think of ways that you haven't even thought of, but it's always good to have backup ideas where you can have them maybe roll perception, or if their passive perception's high enough, you can notice that. Yes, you might be able to get around this particular challenge where it looks like there's no way in by going around the corner, distracting a guard. Considering all of the characters, because you're probably not running a campaign or with all rogues as PCs in your party. So having,
if you are, there's a lot of crossbows in your future. A sneak attack. Yeah. Something else to think about too is what has been. You want to do a heist. What has been the classic things that you've seen in every heist? There's always the recon in the setup, right? For sake of time, that mission I was talking about, like I gave them a fair amount of information. If I really wanted to, hey, go stake the place out, watch the patterns, try to find a way in. and what's your getaway going to be. You have to have that staged.
That's all going to have, come down to probably player interest too.
Yeah.
I bet it sounds fun to do, honestly. I don't know who wouldn't like it, but the staking out, that's interesting. I haven't had players do too much staking out in my own campaigns, funny enough, in the past.
Yeah, well, and let's boil it down. Effectively, if they're staking things out, it's going to be a lot of perception checks or investigations that can get kind of boring.
And a lot of you just describing scenery. Yeah.
Right. But that's what gives you a good opportunity to give them the different elements there.
I think players who are interested in doing that will generally ask those questions. Like, what do I see? Do I see this? Do I have that? This will harken back to the game mechanics that we like. The ability to try to ask, is there this? Could there be this there in this scenario to be able to find?
Sure.
Can I find a rock on the ground? Can I find a switch? Can I swing from the chandelier?
Yeah. And that, roll with it. If you didn't think about it,
it sounds cool.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
But if they're coming up with a plan, that adds a whole new level of tension because they know what they need to do to make it happen. And if something goes wrong, you add a whole new level of drama and tension to the thing of, oh, hell, we were supposed to escape out that window. Now there's a guard standing there.
Yeah.
What do we do?
There's two kind of rules to DMing there. One, we mentioned if it's cool, that's called the rule of cool. If it sounds cool and that would probably be fun and roll with it. And another one is fail forward in the story. I forget where I originally read that, but I've seen it several times. But if you can make a way for a failure in what they're attempting to still move, like add a different element of challenge, but you can still keep the story moving forward, or the event or challenge moving forward in a different direction. They have to clearly deal with a setback, but it doesn't grind it to a halt. You don't want to stop the game. You want it to move forward. Always fail forward.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of elements to play into it. So watch a few heist movies. There's all kinds of things like there's one a movie I loved, Inside Man.
I've not seen that one.
It came out a long time ago, and if I say a long time, it could have been like 5 years. I don't know. But the whole idea was they snuck a guy into the place. One way or the other, he hid inside the building, and after days after the alleged crime had happened of whatever, a robbery, then he left right out the front door. He just walked right out of the building. Spoiler alert, by the way, for a movie that you probably didn't see nor knew existed.
I late on that.
Blew the whole twist for you, but
also it's probably best if you make them role play in real time waiting. That sounds like probably the most fun ever.
Yeah, the dude waited like 3 days in the movie. Anyways, great. He has another question here, and this is something that we actually just recently did on the podcast. How can you make a large gala party fun without being too chaotic? That comes again from AP Appendagvin.
Without being chaotic.
How do you make that party fun?
Well, you can make it very stable. You pretty much rely on the characters to turn it into chaos. So,
and they will.
They will turn it into
will.
chaos. Yeah, don't often expect your ideas, your plans to go according to plan.
Yes.
But yeah, so I do think of our session 0, our kind of prelude session,
Yes.
where we're going into a large party situation. Set the scene, describe the elements that are most important. That you can give a big the overall picture with a broad stroke of, you see so many people. This is generally the atmosphere. This is generally what people are wearing, and this is why they are here. Here's your building or the situation. Here's your general environment. And then call out the specific elements that should be of interest to them, and maybe hide a few behind, perception, or depending on how you want to challenge them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I learned some important lessons from that, because I've set up scenarios like that before. I was a huge fan of Hitman growing up, ever since the very first one, even though that game was very messed up. Some of the things are that you want to highlight the areas that are busy, obviously, where there's a lot of folks. Chances are, if you don't have a character in your party that blends in well in a crowd, you have to do as good a job highlighting the areas that aren't busy. areas that they can sleuth around in. But the thing that I learned, the most important lesson out of that is that finding what that progression in the story is. So in that story, there was a wedding going on, and they had to assassinate the groom and I believe it was the bride's father. And there was quite a few moments where like, we're just gonna sit here, we're just gonna stake it out, see what happens. And for me, it was like, okay, I wasn't planning on you just sitting here, but I learned out of that experience that by pushing that story along of here's what they're doing, they're going to walk down the aisle. Okay, now they're up there talking. Having sort of all that, I don't want to say code, but that pattern down.
The timeline for where things are going to be moving in the event. Yeah.
And choosing to just move it along. So if the players are kind of deliberating on, I might move her. I don't know. I think I might just sit here. Okay, now you see the bride is walking down the aisle. It's like, okay, that's keeping things fresh and moving. Yeah. So yeah, you can create this illusion of like, hey, there's thousands of people here. Just have that progression set ready to go. Also have some just cool things that are going on. If there's a band playing, maybe one of the members in the band is like schmoozing with some ladies out back. I don't know if the players will do anything with that, but maybe there's an opportunity there to go play an instrument and distract everybody on the stage.
Right.
The players will create their own havoc. Your goal is to highlight some of those behind a perception wall, whatever it may be, as far as opportunities that they have to move around the party, create distractions, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and I'll add on that. That's awesome. If you find that they're already having a difficult time deciding how they want to move in, it's probably best to just give them without the perception roll.
Right.
But you certainly can keep some things back. Decide to give others to them later.
Yeah. And in fact, there's going to be plenty of those things like play a Hitman game once, just see what that's about, because if this is something you're interested in, you'll learn a lot from that level design. There is so much in the way that they pack everything in there. There's going to be plenty of elements that you come up with they'll never even use because they won't be on the right side of the building or the party or whatever it may be.
Yeah, never. Yeah. On top of never plan on everything going according to the way you envisioned it. Also, don't plan on everything you planned even coming into play based on what the character decisions are.
Yeah, is a cool opportunity though to sneak some storyline stuff in. Okay. Let's say that you have some warring factions. Maybe there's as the players are moving around, maybe they're at a masquerade, right? And everyone's in disguise. Maybe this is a great opportunity for you to drop a line of like, yes, I heard that the troops are moving at midnight tomorrow, and that's like, okay, not only do we have this mission we've got right now, but now we've got another piece for the next session.
I'm a big fan of dropping in pending future story elements into what's going to come up next. That makes it the world definitely feel more alive and interesting, I think, to the players.
Absolutely. Well, folks, I appreciate you tuning in, checking us out. We play every Friday night, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch, Myths and Mystics over there. It's all easy to find at mythsandmystics.com. If you want us to answer one of your questions on the show here, hit us up, mythsandmystics@gmail.com. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.